Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this session on the MyEPO B2B interfaces, how paralegals can save time and improve efficiency. My name is Richard Schietekatze. I'm customer services expert within the key account management and customer services team at the EPO, and I will be moderating this session. I'm pleased to welcome so many participants. We have received almost 1,000 registrations for this session, which is really an impressive number and shows the interest in the seminar of today. This is our second seminar this year on the MyEPO B2B technical interfaces, or in short, APIs. The first session, which took place in March, was primarily aimed at IT experts, where we explain how you can implement the APIs from the technical point of view. Today's session is targeted at a different audience, namely paralegals and IP support staff. So we will go a bit less into the technical details and focus more on the benefits of APIs for paralegals and share some concrete examples how APIs can help improve the workflows from paralegals. As usual during our seminar, you can ask questions via the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We will try our best to answer most of the questions live. If we don't manage because of the time, then please send your question after the seminar to support@epo.org, and we will send a written reply within the next days. This seminar is being recorded, and you will receive a link to the recording and the PowerPoint presentations in the course of next week. Now, let me introduce the speakers of today. I am pleased to welcome two of our users and one of my EPO colleagues. Ladies first, so I will start with Dolinda de Proost, who actually inspired us to offer this seminar. Dolinda is IP support manager at AOMB in the Netherlands, where she is responsible for all the paralegals and formalities officers. In this role, she is also responsible for the optimization of all patent processes within AOMB. She's one of the founders and a chairwoman of the European Platform of Intellectual Property Administrators. Dolinda has also been a member of the SACEPO Working Party on e-patent process since 2016. Our second external speaker is Maurice Jansen, who is a business analyst at VO Patents and Trademarks, also based in the Netherlands. As a business analyst, Maurice is responsible for optimizing business processes, analyzing data, and providing strategic insights that create value for the organization. In his role, Maurice is a bridge between technology and strategy within the domain of intellectual property. And finally, let me introduce Martin Edu, who is one of the EPO's key account managers supporting our users with online tools and services. Martin has extensive experience in the field of online services, and he might be a familiar face to many of you, as he has been giving trainings for many years, both in the physical and the digital world. And before I give the floor to Martin to give us a short introduction what APIs actually are and what benefits they bring, I would like to mention that there are some additional EPO colleagues standby in the background who will help us with answering your questions, either in writing or live on stage, so you might see them later. Martin, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Like I've already been introduced, so I don't need to introduce myself. This morning, the plan is to introduce us to the API systems, or which we actually call the B2B. I'm going to show a bit of a presentation, and I'm going to explain a few things, and hopefully that goes over correctly. And secondly, I must warn you, I'm going to set up a few pop-up questions, and your answers, for your peace of mind, are all anonymous. So feel free to give us a few answers, so we have a bit of interaction amongst us. All right, so let's get started with the presentation. What are APIs? That's the first question. because it's like, wow, those big words again. APIs are simply what we call the application programming interface, just a set of rules, that will specify how you allow different systems, software systems, to communicate and interact with one another. It acts like a messenger going from the one to the other, enables the one application to request data and functions from the other, and then relaying the response. It's simple as this. You do have a system in-house, which you use, and then you have the EPO system. And we want to find a way of getting them to talk to one another without you having to do the same thing twice. That's literally what they'll be doing. So APIs are really very crucial for building interconnected software and enabling seamless exchange between various applications and services. Why do we have APIs, or why do we need APIs? Many companies that work with the EPO, and I got two of actually my key accounts here, have their own in-house IP management and docking systems. These systems are used for managing all their patent and trademark businesses. Fine, the EPO doesn't do trademark, but we're aware that a lot of systems out there actually handle two different things or more. And these are to communicate with organizations worldwide, like the EPO and the EUIPO, regional and national offices. Before I go on, I'm going to start with the very first proper quiz and question, just to see what we have in the house, because we have quite a few people here from different companies. Richard, can you please paste it?
Is your company using API IP management system?
Yes. We want to find out whether your company is actually using an API. So if you could put out the yes, thank you. So we'd like you all to try to give us an answer here. Oh wow, that's going. Thank you. Looks like 2/3 so far show that they were using a commercial provider, about just under 1/3 are using an in-house developed system, and some people just don't know. That's a good answer as well for the records, right? Yeah, I think we've gotten to the end of those who actually want to give an answer. And that's quite interesting to know. It will help us in making sure those developments that we make and improvements in the future will meet your needs. With the commercial providers, then we know it's a one house that we need to reach. For in-house developed systems, a few works may be done, but it will be done in-house, like it says. Thank you very much for this. You could also see the results yourself. So 67% have a commercial provider, about 20% have an in-house developed system, or sometimes I'm sure it's a variation of a commercial one that's been amended to suit the needs of that company. And about some 13% say no, or I don't know. All right. Thank you very much. There'll be more coming your way in a little bit. So I'm going to stop that. So the EPO services include three major things which make up our collective My EPO services. We have the online filing 2.0 that allows you to file, right, applications. And then we have the My EPO, which gives you a few more things to allow you respond directly to communication from the EPO and get a few other wonderful benefits, for attorneys, benefits for managing things within your organization. And lastly, we have the central fee payment, which allows you to make all kind of payments using various ways of making your payment. Why do we have APIs? Well, we provide My EPO business to business. We call it the B2B technical interface, which is called the API, so that your IT department can use this and facilitate the exchange of digital information. That is the major reason, because we believe quite a few of our users really would like to have a system such as this. And we try to listen to you and bring this to pass. So the fact that we have almost 1,000 people signing up for this event shows us that indeed it is a requirement of our users. Lastly, my EPO APIs have been set up to be in line with the WIPO, or World Intellectual Patent Office, recommended rules, for processing and communicating with intellectual property data using web APIs. Specifically, we have the standard called the ST90, and all we do has to be within that specification from WIPO. There are two major APIs that we have released for use with our users at the moment. The first one, actually second one, I would say, because the other one came first, but let's start with this, because we really want to get people to start focusing on online filing, since by the end of this year, we're going to move fully over to online filing 2.0. By the way, if you're not there yet, you need to do that. Very important. In a few weeks, the old online filing software, will no longer be a valid means of filing to the EPO. The API that we provide allows you to import information from your PMS system, to export information back into that PMS system, to submit applications to the EPO, to get the status at various stages of this process. And at the end of the process, once you've exported it, delete it from the system in the online filing 2.0. The API for the 2.0 will also allow you to import EP forms and PCT R0101 forms as well, and manipulate those. Lastly, the API is also available, just like we've always done with the online filing, in the demo mode, or Demonstrationsmodus for German, and in a live production mode once you've completed testing. We always recommend that you take time to use the benefits of the demo system, so you could test this, play with it, train your staff with it, on the use of it, and once you are very confident that it's all working, you can move over to the production mode. So that will be the online filing 2.0 API. There is a second one, which actually came first, and that is the MyEPO API. The starting point for the release of this was to make the life easy in the area of using the mailbox content. Quite a few people really found that very useful. The API allows you to download content from the EPO's mailbox system, which can be found in the MyEPO. And what can you do? Now, I have a list of things that I will just read out to you literally, just to make sure you understand what this is. Number one, it will allow you to retrieve lists of mailbox communications, whether they've been handled or unhandled. Those will be possible to us. And list of folders. Number two, it will allow you to download the mailbox communications, both documents as well as bibliographic data that relates to that. It will allow you to move mailbox communication from folder to folder and then mark as handled. We're really going step by step here, just to make sure that it's clear what it does. It allows you also retrieve things like due fees for an application, and that will help you in your planning and your internal processes. It will also allow you to import EP forms and PCT-R01. Both sides are covered in those areas. A few of my other colleagues who are here, our visitors, our users, will explain more about this in the way they have actually implemented that within their organizations. Further, it allows you to retrieve due dates from application and description of the terms that are indicated, retrieve all applications, portfolios, and all applications for a given portfolio. It will allow you to retrieve the following as well: bibliographic data, the schedule of fees, and update the user references. The API, just like the online filing version, which has a demo side as well as a production side. By the way, please don't put production information in the demo and demo information in the production so that things don't go crazy. Please pay very good attention to which of the systems you're using. And the data you receive for your production will not work properly within demo and vice versa. So the MyEPO API, what does it do? It, for its own demo, it's got what we call the sandbox mode with the EPO, yeah, as well as the live mode, which is the production mode once you've completed testing. We always recommend you carry out a lot of testing. And of course, if you do need help and assistance in causing this to happen, you can always contact the EPO and we can arrange. For those of you that have key account managers, like myself and a few other colleagues, you can contact your key account managers to help you in that area. And for those of you that don't, not a problem. Please contact our customer services and we will do our best to always help you. I'm going to talk about the benefits of the API. But before I do that, I would like to check on one more thing, and that is we're aware that people are using various types of pattern management systems, but we just want to, by means of a little quiz, find out which are the popular ones that people are using, just to help us literally set up these things and improve them to help you further. So I have one more. Richard, can you please put the second one? Yes, thank you. And this is a question about whether you're using an IP system. No, the other one.
Yeah, correct. Sorry.
Yeah. We've done this before. Yeah. So which IP management provider are you actually using? Because there are quite a few out there, and we will be interested in just seeing which are the very popular ones and the ones that people are really using, and it will help us tailor what we have as much as is possible. We cannot, of course, please the whole world, but we will do our best to see what is common and what most people are using. We understand that there's quite a few people out there, so we'll wait just a few more minutes while people rapidly answer these questions and give us a list of things. We really appreciate this, actually, I must say, that you take time to be at this event and you give us this information. It will go a long way in helping us to help you from the EPO side.
Let's have a look at the results.
Yeah, I think we could, see that. Let's see. Okay. It's not that one. It's which provider. Let's see. That's going to be a tricky one. Actually, I can't get to see it here. So, by the way, it's all anonymous, but eventually we will take a look at this. 62% of you have actually made a response to this, so which is good. We appreciate that, and we will work with that later. Thank you. Right. So you can see the results there. Okay. What are the benefits of using the EPO's B2B system or API? Okay. By the way, I'm going to reiterate, we have what we call a Q&A system, question and answer system, where you could actually ask your questions. We have a few of our colleagues who are in the background that will take your questions. And as we go further, sometimes you do have specific questions for the person that's actually giving a presentation. Feel free to address that to such a person, and we will do our best to answer or pass it on. Thank you. So what are the benefits of API in a system? Number one, it helps in the process of automating the filing processes, for example, with the online filing 2.0, so that you have a direct, seamless communication between your system and the online filing 2.0. Number two, it helps to reduce development time because we have these things that have been set up in the background. And then there is also improved efficiency. Of course, I must be very, very clear with you that that does not happen directly. But at a point, once you've done all the links between our system and your system, which will be described in a short while, then you begin to now see improvement in the way you work. There will be seamless integration and with the existing IT systems from your end and from our end, enabling you to automate data exchange. All right, you'll see that a lot, especially within the mailbox version of it. Two more benefits. One is the fact that it will help you to manage submissions which are going on, even from your system directly and not direct within our systems, and also track the status of the filings at different stages of the process. Lastly, it will help to streamline the workflows and eventually lead to faster processing time and reduce manual efforts. For those who have been using it, we have heard quite a bit of good news from them, and that is growing from day to day. And after now, I'm expecting a massive growth in this area. So with this, I believe I've been able to give you just an introduction to what it is from our side, and eventually we will get to hear from our users. Richard, I will pass on to you in a minute. But before that, some people will be asking a question, and I possibly spotted one question like that already. Where can I find the APIs? How can I access the APIs? What we've done is we've created a portal where everything to do with the EPO's API system, or BTO's B2B system, like we call it from our end, is all there, and all the documentations, all the things you will need, and all information as to how to access our system. You will find it as https api.apps.epo.org/dev-portal. That's quite a mouthful, but the good thing is these presentations will be sent to you, so you don't have to worry about memorizing or taking pictures of this, except you want to do it straight away. But we have this portal where all the information are stored for you. All right. Okay. So with this, I'm going to hand over to Richard. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin, for this short introduction. I think we didn't manage to share the results of the names of the IP management systems. So let me try to share this right now.
Wow.
Can you
I
see?
see a few
Yeah.
ones there.
So these were the most frequent named suppliers.
That's a very beautiful picture.
So thank you for this input indeed. Now let's move on to our next topic. Dolinda, can you share with us what you consider as the main advantages of using the APIs for paralegals, and what is needed to get started?
Well, thank you, Richard, and thank you, Martin, for this clear overview. And that really is the important question of today. What is or are the benefits for paralegals and how to get started? Well, the reason of the meeting of today is to make you aware of all the options that are already available and to give you tips and to guide you in this process, as far as we can, of course, in this process of automation. And one thing that is good to mention, the implementations of APIs is correct mapping of data, and that is completely different in comparison with AI. Not to mix those things up. Well, in the last decennia, we have gone from analog communication to digital communication. We have gone from paper files to digital files. But now we are on the eve of the next phase, direct integration with patent offices like the EPO, wherein API links are central and will become the standard. Well, submissions, deadlines, data entry, data validation, portfolio extractions, all can be done automated via, well, Martin called it B2B, You can call it M2M, machine to machine. It's moving data from one system to the other system, and that can be all automated in the future. And for example, from your daily practice, manually entering publication data or grant data into your system can be done via the API. Or manually downloading the communications from the mailbox can be done via the API. Or like Martin said, moving communications to a certain folder or marking them as handled can all be done via an API. And that sounds, of course, very simple and promising, but before you can actually use these features, there is work to be done on your side. Well, the EPO makes the APIs available for all users, but your company or you have to link the API to your system. And it would have been very easy if all of you were using the same system. But just like we saw in the poll, you use a lot of different IPMS service providers. And besides that, some of you use the same service provider, but then you have different internal processes in place. So it's not that simple and easy as it may sound. And like we just seen, the majority of the companies are working with an IPMS service provider. But there are also companies that have built their own platform. And if you use a service provider, are you aware how they set up the integration of the APIs? Did they already integrate all the endpoints? Or for example, only the endpoint for the mailbox? And is that integration suitable for your company? And in case that integration is not suitable for your company, do you have your own IT department with developers to build your own custom integration? Well, we currently see many announcements of service providers that they have built integration with patent offices. But what have they built? Is it ready for you to use? Or is there still some development to do on their side or on your side? Who is responsible for the mapping? What do they expect from you? What can you expect from them? And we can only encourage you to contact your service provider and ask those important questions. And the mission of today is also to make you aware of all the options that are already available, and also to make you aware that you could already prepare yourself. If, for example, like Martin said, you can extract the deadlines from the system of the EPO to your system and import them, well, you have to be aware that the deadlines the EPO is providing are including official holidays and weekend days. And we know the majority of the deadlines that are calculated in certain systems are without official holidays and weekend days. And that is, of course, not a problem. But you have to discuss that internally, which option you would prefer. Or if you would like to start using the API for online filing 2.0, you can already check in your system if certain fields are missing. Because what the API does, it extracts the data from your system, and all the information that is needed for filing should be in your system. And for example, a field for the entity status or the dash code, all that information has to be in your system. And in the current way of working, it doesn't matter if those fields are in your system, if you have a specific place where you archive that data. But when you are using the APIs, you really have to have fields for that, because it's mapping fields from one system to another, what is happening in the background. And do you already work in a structured way when it comes to naming files and documents? And for correct mapping information from one system to another system, it is essential that your data and the structure of your data is consistent and correct. And the check of documents, and that can be applicant and inventor details, the description claims and drawings, everything has to be done upfront instead of afterwards. And it is a different way of working when you start using the APIs. But before I give the floor to Maurice, who will tell you more from a practical point of view what the options are, I would like to mention something. Your role, the role of the paralegal, will change in the future. Once you start using the APIs, your work will become more efficient and will become even more important than it is now. Manually entering data, manually entering communications, manually booking deadlines, or starting a workflow. In the future, that can all be done via an API. You will more have a control function, and for that, good knowledge of the IP procedures is of utmost importance, and we can only encourage you to keep your knowledge up to date. Follow on a regular basis trainings and webinars the EPO or WIPO or your national association is providing. Read newsletters. Follow the APAC training, which will be modular as of next year, as you may have seen in the announcement of last week. It is really important to keep your knowledge up to date, because you are the spill, the most important person to talk to your IT department and talk to your IPMS provider, because you know how the processes work in your organization. Well, now the more practical side. I would like to give the floor to Maurice, who will take you in his journey of VO, the steps they have taken in the last couple of years. Maurice, I hand over to you.
Thank you, Dorena, and good morning, everyone. Today we are going to talk about APIs. This sounds like technical, but don't worry, I will keep it simple and practical. And by the end of the session, hopefully you will have a better understanding how APIs work and how APIs can make your life easier. First of all, I would look to explain why we started using APIs, then give a brief roadmap of how we started, and finally share some examples, what you can see in the dashboard, as well as the links to the API. Well, why we started? And like Martin already said, APIs stands for Application Programming Interfaces. This is a bridge between two systems. This is not an app you can download. Sorry. It is a link that allows systems to change data automatically without any manual copying or pasting. What are the benefits? And they are already spoken by Martin, but here they are again. Less manual work, so no more copy pasting. Higher efficiency, which eliminates manual entry and reduces errors. Faster case handling for streamless processing and faster results. And imagine starting your workday before you even grab your first cup of coffee and finding that almost all communications have already been processed. And that is really the power of APIs. How we started automation, and let me share you our journey. We began with the automation in 2022, and that was even before the API era. We noticed that the file names of the EPO documents had a fixed structure, and therefore we were able to process the EPO communications automatically. We built some in-house tooling to auto-process the EPO communications, to trigger the workflows, and store the documents in our system. Later, in 2023, after the introduction of the EPO APIs, which gave us this possibility for a broader and more efficient way of automation, we redesigned our tooling and continue building on further automation of our process. We download the files automatically, and we're able to start even more workflows. The EPO Online Filing API was launched, and we started to build some tooling in March 2024, to automatically submit the new applications directly from our system into Online Filing 2.0. And this allows us to submit new applications without copy pasting and with any manual input. Automation of this process saves significant time and prevents errors. The API was expanded, and in June 25, we built new tooling to validate data and automatically update terms and trigger workflows in our system. Step by step, we move from semi-automation to almost full automation. And for the most of us, it holds that 25 of the total communications you often receive from the EPO makes up to 80% of your total workload. How to get started? Well, the process begins as follows. First, you have to request access via the support desk or your key account manager, and you will receive credentials which are required for authentication for your connection. And this is very important because you want to exchange the data between the EPO and your own system in a safe and secure environment. Setting the permissions in both MyEPO and online filing, and the EPO will create an account, and your account manager or your company administrator will see this B2B account in the list of company members in the administration area, as well in MyEPO and online filing, as said. And then the company administrator should grant access to the mailbox. Otherwise, the API isn't able to connect to this endpoint. Now everything is set up. You have to work together with your service provider or IT department. You know what information you need from the EPO portal and what you need from the communications and how you should embed it in your own system and own flows. You can make the translation between the information from the EPO to your own PMS. Within the EPO, you have multiple controllers that gives you access to your content, and the two most important APIs for us are the application controller and the mailbox controller. And starting with the last, the mailbox controller enables you to download the documents, retrieve the metadata for these documents, and mark these documents as handled, or even move these documents to a subfolder. And all with this, you can store them in your IP system, automatically start workflows, and so on. And the other one, the application controller, as said, retrieves bibliographic data from your portfolio for validation purposes, retrieves terms to start new workflows, and so on. So how it works? An API is basically a special web address, which is called, and I said earlier, an endpoint. Applications use these endpoints to talk to each other. Using these endpoints, you can both retrieve data and add or update data. Retrieving data is for the mailbox and the application controller, and the online filing 2.0 API is for adding data. The data you get back from the API is usually in a structured format like a JSON or an XML file. Now we get to the examples. Here you see a screenshot from what you see in the portfolio for in MyEPO. All metadata could be interesting, for example, for validating this with your own data in your system. Or how could you map this with your own PMS, and how does it look like in the API? And for this, we need the application controller, and more specific, the endpoint of the bibliographical data. And you can map all this information with your own PMS. As you see, the application number, the title of the invention, the filing date, and even the priority information. Another example, the bibliographical data, which allows you to see all the publication information. And also here, you see the structured way of how it is presented via the API. And also, use the endpoint to get the bibliographic data for an application. Here we see a Form 2004, which is probably all familiar to you all, the communication about the intention to grant. And we are used to download this communication from the mailbox and handle it manually. You will probably start with opening the relevant case or tooling in your own PMS and open the PMS based on the application, followed by manually entering the relevant data in your own system. Well, how does it look like in the API? Well, again here, in a very structured way, you see the JSON on the right. And for this, you need the mailbox controller to use the endpoint latest communications. And also here, you see all relevant data from the communication in the JSON file, like the dispatch date, the document date, the application number, also your reference, but also the document code. And based on this document code, you know what kind of communication you have received. And for this specific example, the 2004, the intention to grant. And as you know, we all know that you have a 4-time date limit for answering this communication. And this is also be found in an API. And here you see the link between the mailbox controller and the application controller. You need the application controller to get your due dates, and as said, the mailbox controller to get all metadata from the communication. Another example is Form 2006, the decision grant. And at the same, you can map or match all important data from the communications with your own system. Like the publication date, which you can get from the bibliographic data in the application controller. Then, of course, and as said, we have another API within the EPO, and this is called the Online Filing API. And this API eliminates manual entry for complex forms like 1001, 1200, for which you can require a lot of data, such as applicants, inventors, and priority details. And this could create new applications or submit subsequent documents. Automation this process saves significant time and prevent errors. And the APIs work all the same, so I won't bore you with the technical details. And while the EPO is about, the My EPO is about requesting information and translating it into your own PMS, the Online Filing API focusing on collecting information in your PMS and sending this via the API to Online Filing. And it will look like this, or could like this. And then some practical tips. You find a lot of information, and Martin already shared it with you, on the My EPO development portal. Type it in Google and you find directly the first link. Within this development portal, you find a lot of documentation, like a Swagger page, which is information about the description, and you can even do some testing. CSV overview of all EPO forms. And as said, contact the support desk or your key account manager to get access. And to sum up, APIs are not just for tech teams. They are tools to make your work faster, easier, and more accurate. So start small and you see some big things. Thank you for attending and for your attention. And back to Richard, I think.
Thank you very much, Maurice, for this very interesting presentation. And you can see it has been appreciated by our participants.
Yeah, couldn't have written it better. Well done. Thank you.
We do have a question for you, Maurice, from one of the participants. And can you give a rough estimate of how much time it will cost to set up the APIs? And once set up, how much time per month is needed to maintain our update?
Oh, wow. Well, that is difficult to say because, well, we don't know which system the question works with. So, yes, it takes a lot of time, but at first, like Dolinda already said, you must be known if the system is capable to communicate via an API you host and the API from the EPO. And if that's so, as I said, yeah, start small. For example, with Form 2006, which I show you, or the opposition period ended, you can map easily these forms with your own system. And if you have done so, yeah, you don't have a monthly, you don't need every month to update the forms. No. So when the system is running, most of the times it runs it. No updates are needed.
Thank you. Let me see if there are any other questions for you, specifically for you. I don't think so. Our colleagues are replying to the other questions in the background. Thank you for that. Then maybe we can continue with our next topic, which is a very short topic. Martin, would you like to give us a brief overview of some recent and future developments?
Very well. Okay, I'll try to do that in a minute. By the way, keep on coming with your questions. I see a few questions coming in right there, and we'll do our best to answer. So, the thing is, of course, it is not a static process or project. We're working very, very hard to make sure we meet your needs as much as time allowed, as much as priorities allow, and so at least we'll get you working as soon as possible. There's already a lot that's been put down there, but of course, we're looking forward to the future and seeing what can still take place. Okay, so in 2025, we brought out the developer portal, which people have responded positively to because it provides all the technical information that you need for linking your IT systems between My EPO and the online filing 2.0 with a business-to-business system. And again, we always recommend that you contact your IP management software supplier or IT department if you are not sure about whether your in-house IP management software is ready for use with the EPO APIs. Of course, as has been said by our guest speakers today, we realize that it doesn't just happen, magic out of the box. Now, there are things you need to do to cause the communications to actually take place. And of course, we support you as much as we can. However, in the future, we're looking forward to developing a few more things looking ahead. There's some potential things which might take place, and a few suggestions are still coming on. One of the things is we're looking forward to the ability to create folders within the mailbox using the IPI. We're looking forward to the possibility to also set up things to relate to the transfer of rights and change of representation to be able to carry out withdrawal requests within the My EPO. To also be able to download individual files, in a bundled mailbox communication, to be able to deliver structured data based on the content of the communications that you receive within the mailbox. We're also looking forward to be able to set up APIs in the area of fee payments as well. And this will definitely help a lot of people in automating that process, especially for those who have lots of payments to do with the bigger companies. We also look forward in the future to be able to update user references and hopefully also for opposition cases. I must give a small caveat right here. These are things we're looking forward to in the future. It does not mean that next week they will all be ready. Nope. You must be aware that some of these things take time and got to be prioritized based on various factors, which I cannot fully enumerate. But at least you have something to look ahead to in the near future. And of course, let us know by way of your responses some of these things that actually will make sense to you, will be useful to you, and we can push and do our best to bring them to pass. We're also looking forward to the ability to be able to download performed actions from the MyEPO, so that way you have a proper record of those within your system. So we hope that this whets your appetite, and we hope that we eventually will be able to achieve these in the coming year. So with this, I think I've said as much as can be said for now, but with a caveat, it does not mean it's happening next week, but these are things we're looking forward to be able to achieve in the near future. Thank you very much. Richard, over to you.
Thank you, Martin. Well, we're ahead of schedule, to be honest. We had foreseen 1 hour and a half. There's still a few questions being replied to in the background, I see. Someone's asking, it will be nice to have the presentations. Yes, you will get the presentations at the end of next week, together with the link to the recording. So you get the presentations as a separate PDF file indeed. Okay. Let me see if there's still some open questions. Which we can. Are there any specific questions still for Maurice or Dolinda? And please let us know.
Actually, it will be good to also read out a bit of good news. There is a user here who has written, just sharing, we have successfully implemented MyEPO API almost a year ago. We managed automatically to process all communications, read PDFs automatically, even scanned ones, and we prepare automated emails to our clients regarding this communication. Very good functionality. All our company is very happy. That just made my day.
Indeed, good news. Another short question for you, Maurice. Any tips on who should be part of a project team?
Oh, yes, of course. The paralegal is very important, because she could translate the information from the EPO communications, what you see on the portfolio, towards the IT people. So yes, I should create a team with some senior paralegals and some IT people who can actually or capable to mapping these details they see in the JSON file to their own IPMS system.
Thank you. Another question. Can we already start using API? Martin?
Yeah, the answer is a very big fat yes. You can already start using the API. And like I just said like a minute ago, there was a customer that was saying we implemented it a year ago. So that tells you that, it's already been in use by quite a few people out there. You can already start using. Starting point is go to the portal that we've described. Secondly, you contact our customer services, who will send you necessary technical details to start implementing the process. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a big yes. Dolinda, question for you. Can you share how the APIs work in practice in your firm? And have you developed the API with an in-house IT group or with a system provider?
That's a good question. We are still in the process of testing, and we work with an service provider that has only made the integration available for the mailbox. And they made the integration in a way that is not the way we would like to work. So we are making a decision currently whether we want to wait for further developments of our service provider or that we should start with our custom integration. And I think that's also the message of today. It's so important that you contact your service provider to see what is on their roadmap and if it's suitable for your way of working for the future. And if that's not, then you really have to consider doing your custom integration. But just not wait, but just let's get started. That's, I think, my main message of today. And also from my own experience, that it is not always very normal that your service provider is doing all the work on their side, and it's just the connection that they have to make. But the mapping, and it's really important to ask that question: who will be responsible for the mapping? Because it is, like Marie said, you have some work up front with the implementation, but once it's running, of course you have to maintain it. But that's not the work eventually. The work is in the first stage.
Thank you. And I have another interesting question, which is related to that, maybe also for you, Dolinda. What is your practical advice for managing change in your IP firm?
Yeah, well, I can only spread the message that I think there is a lot of things that are going to be changed in the future. And you have to prepare your own team for that. And it's not that we see that people will be fired due to this automation step, but the role of the paralegal will change in the future. And I think it's in the benefit of them. It will be more an interesting role. You will have more control of what you are doing. So, but when it comes to change management, I can only say, please keep your people up to date and speak to them with regard to the changes that are coming in the next decennia.
Thank you. Martin, a question for you, I see. Is there a difference in setting things up if you are using a system from a service provider, which is self-hosted, versus a system that is hosted at the vendor of the system? Or maybe this is a question for our colleagues in the background.
Yeah, let's see the question. Yeah. Is there a difference in setting things up if you are using a system from a service provider, which is self-hosted, versus a system that is hosted at the vendor of the system? So, and for that vendor of the system. If the system is hosted at the vendor of the system, then the expectation is that they actually take the time to establish that. But if it's hosted at your end, then you will have to be the people that will push forward for that to be accomplished. So that's the slight difference, but the goal is the same. It's just a matter of who initiates the process. If it's at their end, then they will have to start a process. If it's at your end, then you start the process. But in either of the cases, if you need assistance, we'll be very, very happy to help you. Simply write us at support@tpo.org, and then we will start that process.
Thank you.
No problem.
And then we have a very practical question. Please, can you publish this Q&A with the recording of the session? It is really useful for troubleshooting. Yes, we will make sure that the Q&A will become available as well.
Yep.
Then Dolinda, I see another question for you. What is the biggest non-technical hurdle you have encountered? And how have you overcome this or these?
That's an interesting one.
The non-technical hurdle, well, it's the discussion, I think, with the service provider and also with your own company to discuss the roadmap. And I see that so many things are possible currently. So you really have to stick to your discussion. Don't give up, but just keep on asking, pushing, well, until you have the right answer. But yeah, and that's also why it's so important that we spread the message of all the options that are already available, so that also paralegals can go to their management team or their RT department and share what is all possible and start a discussion of the future.
See, there's some outstanding questions.
It says in organization deadlines. Deadlines are on a particular person. I believe that's what the user means to say. So will the API do the same? Will it focus on a particular person as in the organization?
Can I help you, Martin?
Yes, please, go on.
Okay. Of course, the API within the EPO does not know on which particular person within your organization is responsible for this term.
Sure.
So within your own PMS, IPMS API, you probably have settings where and who are responsible for certain due dates or certain workflows or whatsoever. So when you have set up the connection between your own API or your own IPMS system and the API of the EPO, you probably be capable to set up this specific flow or this specific due term to the person you like to have to be responsible for this term.
Thank you.
Another question for you, Maurice. If there are changes in the EPO communications data and the API stops working correctly, do you receive a notification to update the data manually?
No, we do not specifically get information from the EPO that it is not working, but you notice that if your automated process has run early in the morning, that there are no communication going through. So then, of course, you know that is the signal for you to manually go to the platform of the EPO and check your mailbox manually and do all, like we all did before, manually download it and entering all relevant data in your PMS system. So no, there is no specific feed or something that it is not working.
Another question for you, Maurice. Is it possible to reply to received messages via API if the EPO requires a response or confirmation? As far as I know, this is currently possible in the mailbox interface.
No, it is unfortunately not possible yet. Hopefully it will be in the future, but no, we cannot respond to or give a reply to a communication. That is all done via the website of the EPO. Let me think. The only thing which is possible that you use the online filing 2.0 and then submit a subsequent document. That is the only possibility, but actually reply at once is not possible.
There seems to be quite a few questions relating to whether the EPO will make contact with pattern management system providers and the rest. That is a tricky question, and I'll say why. Like you saw at the very beginning when we asked what people use, you saw quite a wide variety of first of all, commercial providers. Secondly, then we have in-house developed systems. So in life, there's hardly ever anybody that succeeds in making a one thing fits all, or the EPO cannot now be partial and then focus on the one company and all of that. However, that said, if the company reaches out to the EPO and ask for communication, we will, of course, within our instances, do our very best to work with the company. But we cannot directly go out and reach out to every single company in the world. It's not possible. It's completely not possible. So people should bear this in mind. What you could do on your side is to nudge, get to your company and say, well, this is what we have. Tell them this is available. tell them where the portal is, where they have all the information. And then within that, if they have questions, they can always contact us, and we will always do our best to support them in the process, because we want you to succeed just as we also want to succeed as well. So I hope this gives a global answer to this question, which seems to be coming up again and again and again. Thank you. Thank you for the thumbs up as well. All right.
Just to confirm, indeed, Martin, we have communicated about the setup of the APIs with the providers. And of course, they are welcome to interact with us and send any inquiries via support@epo.org.
There is a question here which I would like to answer. And the customer says, or the person says, with API, will it be possible to communicate directly with an examiner on a case and ask questions before filing a formal response to a communication? Now, first of all, that is not the goal of the APIs that we release. But the good news is within what we call the MyEPO, there is an option there, which is called the shared area, which could more or less be set up for what you're asking for. It will allow you to have direct communication with the examiners, from representative to examiner, and you could set up meetings, transfer information across that you can both work on at the same time. So I recommend strongly to that user to look into the use of the shared area, which you will find within the MyEPO. All right.
Thank you, Martin. Any more questions to Maurice or Dolinda before we wrap up?
Well, somebody says, yeah. Thank you, Dolinda. Exactly our own experience as well. So that's a good one.
A question for Maurice still. Regarding the use of API for Mailbox, what does the paralegal still do in your organization regarding incoming communications? For example, only check document management and docketing of terms. How has their role changed?
Yes, certainly there was changed something within our organization. And first of all, not all communications which we can ultimately download are handled with our in-house tooling. So there's still some manual work to be done. However, as said, approximately 25 communications relate to 80% of your total workload per year. So yes, a lot of these communications are handled automatically. But at the end, and as we have a 4I principle within our organization, the paralegal checks if all relevant data is entered and if the right process have been started. And there, her knowledge of his knowledge comes in to add relevant information to the attorney, or even reply to this communication.
And I think now I don't see any new questions anymore coming in.
Well, I think that's it. We have no more new questions.
Indeed. So then it's time to wrap up. With this session, we have concluded our seminar program for 2025. In total, we offered 18 seminars this year, covering topics like online filing 2.0, Mailbox, PCT link, managing your user access in MyEPO services. Most of the recordings of these sessions are available on the MyEPO services channel on YouTube. We will share the link in the chat. And on this channel, you will find some other interesting short tutorials as well on other topics like the shared area, which Martin just mentioned, and the legal interactive platform, for example. We will continue to offer seminars next year. The topics and dates will be announced in due course. Thank you for joining us. If you still have questions, please send them to support@epo.org, or contact your key account manager if you have one. Before we close, let me thank as well our speakers of today, Dolinda, Maurice, and Martin. Thank you very much. And also many thanks to the colleagues in the background who helped us with answering the questions. Have a good day and goodbye.